Before today's drag attacks, the straight world loved Barry Humphries, Dame Edna, a life well lived.
Sad news this morning.
Oh.
Famous tagline, hello, Possums.
Oh.
Some very sad news today. Australian comedian Barry Humphries, best known for his comedic character, Dame Edna, has unfortunately died. Dame Edna became a star in the 70s in the UK, known for her quick wit and boundary-pushing comedy.
You're looking wonderful. You're ageless.
Well, I'm trying to be ageless. I've had a little work done, but
Have you?
not quite as much as some.
Your hair color is stunning. Your hair color is breathtaking. Is that a natural hair color?
It is my natural.
Is it really?
Preempted what I was about to say in such a lovely way.
Oh, yes.
It is my natural hair color.
Oh, wow.
I was born with this lovely mauve hair, viewers. I'm the only woman actually on the planet with a purple bikini line.
Wow.
She goes into supermarkets, she just takes things, she stuffs them down her pantyhose. I said to one of my minders, I said, follow that girl and pay for whatever she's got in her pantyhose. He said, she charges for that, does she?
He had spent several days in the hospital in Sydney leading up to his death. He underwent hip surgery and began suffering from health complications shortly after. The character of Dame Edna was used to satirize the cult of celebrity, political leaders, and was used to poke fun at fashion of the time.
Australian comedian and actor Barry Humphries, who is best known as his drag alter ego Dame Edna Everage, has died aged 89. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese also gave tribute to him on Twitter. Humphries died at a Sydney hospital after being readmitted following surgery on his hip last month, according to the New York Times. The drag artist had her own mock celebrity broadcast talk show on NBC in the early 1990s called Dame Edna's Hollywood. Humphries was also a mainstay on actual talk shows as well. Humphries was born in Melbourne, Australia in 1934. He crafted housewife Edna Everage in 1955 for satire. The persona became huge after Humphries began appearing on British television as her. In the 1960s, before Edna's rise to stardom, Humphries appeared in several West End and Broadway productions. Edna was best known for her catchphrase, "Hello, Possums," and her lavender-colored hair and rhinestone glasses. Humphries wrote several books, novels, autobiographies, and plays, and painted. In 2022, Humphries toured the UK for The Man Behind the Mask, outside the character. Humphries was also a controversial figure. In 2003, in an advice column for Vanity Fair, he replied to a reader's question about learning Spanish with, quote, "Who speaks it that you're really that desperate to talk to?" End quote. Selma Hayek led a backlash against the racist comments. And I am so torn about celebrating this person's life and contributions, because when you see the videos, she
was filthy.
Hilarious. Yeah. But then you fast forward to what she decided to use her voice for, especially in the later years of life, coming out as just so vehemently anti-trans that I cannot get behind celebrating a legacy that she tore apart.
It's really hard because, I saw her Broadway show at least 4 times. And every time, even it was, with my parents and a couple times, other people, but it was, one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But as you say, as it went later in life, how odd and ironic that he became so turf-like and anti-gay.
I have the quotes from the Advocate article from which
I do too. I just didn't want to read them because they're disgusting.
Oh, I have no qualms about reading quotes. Humphries, this is from the Advocate article. Humphries continued to speak against what he perceived as the problems with, quote, political correctness. He called it a, quote, new Puritanism. And in an interview with The Telegraph in 2016, he said that trans women were, quote, mutilated men. End quote. He later described being transgender as a, quote, fashion. The comedian said his comments had been taken out of context, according to CNN. And unfortunately, I can't help but think of my friend, the late Sal Piro, up in New York, who, while he never told me, there was a strong resemblance between the drag he did on stage up there and Dame Edna. It was just the same kind of.
You know, I think one of the big issues of Dame Edna is in the 1990s. There's a whole generation of millennials and Gen Zers that have absolutely no idea what we're talking about right now.
No clue.
It might as well be Thomas Edison when he discovered electricity. Dame Edna, what I think is so interesting about the story, I'm not going to weigh into the ridiculousness of the trans stuff at all. Ridiculous. At the end of the life, I did not agree with virtually anything that she or he said. One of the things that I do think is super interesting in what is going on today is Dame Edna was universally loved by Republicans in the 1990s because Dame Edna was personal friends with the Queen, and they hung out and did jokes, it was only a joke, of how her and Lizzie, as she would call her, and was universally loved. It required a person or a group of people to demonize drag queens, and those people didn't exist in the 1990s.
Right.
And as a result, Dame Edna was a superstar in this circle in a completely different trajectory to a RuPaul, for example. RuPaul, arguably, Dame Edna was way bigger in 1994 than when RuPaul was doing the VH1 show. That's how big Dame Edna was. For me, I have a long-time memory that I will always cherish. In 1988, I was in Cardiff, Wales, and I had never even heard of Dame Edna. And I was in Cardiff, Wales, and there's nothing to do in Cardiff, Wales. And so the concierge, who was gay, said, "Oh, you should go and see Dame Edna, cherished, blah, blah, blah." And went to the Art Center, and it was arguably the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, even until today.
Right.
It was genius. I was watching someone that was genius in drag performing comedy.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.